What's up, guys? This may be one of my favorite Marvel movies since Spider-Man No Way Home, even though it's partly Sony, and Avengers Endgame. This is one of the best Marvel movies we have seen in years, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. Here are my thoughts on Thor Love and Thunder. All right, guys, before we kick things off, I do want to let you know this will be a spoiler-free review. So if you want spoilers, wait a few more days. Try not to go on the internet, though, because you don't want to spoil this movie. There's a lot of nuggets in there. There's a lot of Easter eggs. There's a lot of great things in this. And don't read the internet for a few days because people love to spoil things for you guys, and we're not going to do that for you here. Okay, so I'm going to give you my overall thoughts on Thor Love and Thunder, the standout actors in this, and then we're going to let it be at that. And we want you to watch this and enjoy it. Okay, first and foremost, the soundtrack is one to buy. If you're a Guns N' Roses fan, you're going to absolutely love this movie. You heard the song in the trailer. There's even more in this movie. This is an 80s rock anthem soundtrack. You're going to absolutely love it. I'm buying it as soon as it's available. It's probably available right now, and I'm going to buy it because I absolutely love the songs in it. So let's kick off where we're at with this film. This is after Thor's joined Guardians of the Galaxy, as we saw in Endgame, and they've gone on a few adventures together, but Thor's still trying to find himself. And you got a sense of this in Endgame, and that kind of continues, and he's sort of like, I think I'm at peace. I think I know who I am. And Korg, he does a tremendous job sort of narrating what's gone on since we saw him last in Endgame, and they kind of bring you up to speed. And Taika Waititi does this really well in terms of getting you up to speed in relatively, no time flat. I mean, the narration is hilarious. There's a lot of chuckles throughout the entire movie, and you get it right from the very beginning. Chris Hemsworth is absolutely loving being this Thor. We saw this in Thor Ragnarok, and you are going to see it continue right here in Thor Love and Thunder. He loves being this character, especially when you have a writer and director like Taika Waititi who's directing this and just scribing the words, because it is funny as hell. Now, this movie does get a little bit corny at times, but it does maintain the balance between being a little bit over the top, but also being very serious when it needs to be. Anyway, digressing, let's go back. Thor's sort of finding himself. We see him in his element with Guardians of the Galaxy, how this relationship sort of unfolds, and they do part ways quite early on. That's not a spoiler, because as you could tell by the trailers, this is a Thor film through and through, and the main storyline is really about Gorr the God Butcher, as you saw in the trailers, and Jane Foster, aka the Mighty Thor. That's where this film sort of lies into it. And you go from the creepy, the horror aspect that Gorr the God Butcher brings, but also to the love and to the romance and to the we kind of know Jane's story, and if you don't know it, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it is a very touching story, and they do it beautifully. They balance the crazy humor, which it does get really insane at times, to some of the more touching, more heartfelt, more grounded moments in the film. And I think only someone like Taika Waititi can do this. And I'm not a huge Taika Waititi fan. Now, I respect his work, and some of the things I think he does are fantastic. Some of the things he does, it's a little bit over the top for me. But the balance in this film, I knew was going to be like this, and he did it. He absolutely nailed it in this film through and through. Okay, so what to expect? Do you know Flash Gordon from the 1980s? Well, you're going to get a lot of that kind of vibe in this film through the very beginning. A lot of bright colors, a lot of vibrancy, a lot of neon colors. It is a 1980s flashback film, but of course with 2022 CGI and Marvel and all that great stuff involved with it. So it is a kind of a hark back to an era that, I grew up with, and I think some of you probably grown up with it as well. We love this era. It's big hair, it's big bands, it's guitars, it's drums, it's bright lights, it's color. That's what this film is all about. But when it does become serious, when it does become horrific, when it does become dark, he also brings that into the mix. One of the things I like about this film is that you do get a sense of how Gorr became Gorr the God Butcher. And Christian Bale, by the way, is absolutely phenomenal in this role. I know I read a review earlier on, and you probably read it as well, where Taika Waititi said this is one of the best villains that he's seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I tend to agree. I think Christian Bale really brought it in a way that gives Gorr a multi-dimensional aspect to his character. We saw this with Josh Brolin when he did Thanos, and you're seeing that also with Gorr the God Butcher, which I think is great, because a lot of the villains in some of these Marvel movies can be a little bit two-dimensional at times, but when you have the right actor, and you have the right writers and the right director, it can come out beautifully, and it does in this film. And without Christian Bale being in this role, I don't think it works as well, making Gorr the God Butcher this type of character who kind of drives all the other characters' motivations in this. And it's really interesting how he does it, and it's beautiful to watch. So Christian Bale is a standout in this film. Let's talk about some of the other actors that have stood out in this. Russell Crowe as Zeus. Holy shit, is he hilarious. He is funny as hell in this. You could tell he had a blast playing Zeus. I mean, this film is a little bit over the top, and he brings it in a way which is spectacular. By the way, don't want to give anything away, but there's 2 post-credit scenes, and maybe there's something on Zeus or not Zeus, I'm not going to say, but there is something you definitely want to stick around for. But Russell Crowe is funny in this movie. He's hilarious. But something about this Zeus, by the end of this film, you're going to be going, well, I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting Zeus to go this way. Just putting that out there. Okay, next, let's talk about Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie, or King Valkyrie. She's fantastic in the role. Honestly, she's great. She doesn't have a lot to do in this film because this film is primarily around Jane Foster and Thor and their relationship, their past relationship, and where they're at now. But she is there in a supporting role. She does help out in a lot of ways in terms of pushing the storyline forward, and her character does have some consequential moments in this film, but she's not a main part of this storyline. So just keep that in mind if you're a Tessa Thompson fan, but she does a great job in it. Okay, let's talk about Korg for a second. Taika Waititi, who is sort of the narrator of this movie, sort of the voice for Thor as he goes through his journeys, when we kind of catch up to him, up to speed from the very beginning of it, and through different parts of this film as well. He's great in it. I mean, he adds a nice humor element to things when he needs to be. He doesn't overdo it. Now, for example, when I watched Lightyear and Taika Waititi was in that as well, I felt his character was a little bit, kept repeating the same kind of jokes and the same kind of things over and over again, and it lost its flair, lost its humor along the way. He knows when to bring Korg back, and he knows when to let Korg be. And he does it really well in this film, and Korg is a very, very, he's an integral part of this. You're going to really enjoy watching him. If you like Thor, if you like Korg and Ragnarok, you're going to really like him in Love and Thunder. Moving on, let's talk about Chris Hemsworth. If you were worried this was going to be a film that's going to be centered around Valkyrie or Jane Foster and Thor was going to be sidelined in his own film, this is not the case. This is Chris Hemsworth through and through, and you can tell he absolutely loves being Thor. This guy really enjoys this character. You can see that he loves the evolution of Thor. He loves where this character's going, and he digs in to the humor, but he also digs into the heart and to the soul of this movie into a very big way. And I think there's a nice change in Thor we see from the very beginning to where we end. And I think Taika Waititi knew where to go with this character, and he brings it in a way that I feel personally, this is better than his performance in Thor Ragnarok. I really like this film, actually better than Ragnarok as a whole. This is my favorite Thor film to date. He really is fantastic in this, and God, is he buffed. He is jacked in this film, absolutely jacked. But he's great. I mean, you're going to watch this with a new appreciation of Hemsworth after watching Love and Thunder. Okay, and now let's get down to Natalie Portman as Jane Foster. If you read the comic books, you kind of know her storyline already. If you haven't read it, I'm not going to give anything away. She plays Mighty Thor in this film. And you could understand why she wanted to come back for this movie, because, in the first Thor and then in Dark World, there really wasn't much for her to do so much in those films per se. This is a very meaty role for her, and it's a very touching, very heartfelt role. It's great. I mean, she looks fantastic. She built herself up to look amazing as Mighty Thor. She put a lot of hard work into it, and it pays off. And she's a really good superhero. And I'll tell you what, I mean, not going to give away what happens to her character in this, but man, she really brought it. You could tell that she brought her A game to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, she's always a fantastic actress, but she really brought it in a way where she embraced the humor, but she also embraced the other side, and she embraced that heroism, where by the end of this film, you are rooting for Mighty Thor as much as you're rooting for Thor. And Taika does an amazing job of balancing it and really bringing it into the fold, and how they interact with each other in a way that is, it's really, really touching. You guys are going to really, really enjoy this. I keep saying that, but it is true. This is a fantastic film. It is my favorite Thor film thus far. There's a lot of cameos in this movie. There's a lot of surprises. There's a lot of Easter eggs. And you're going to hear all about these in the coming days from a lot of reviewers out there. And you're going to see some things on Twitter and probably on YouTube as people like to record stuff and put it out there. I'm going to say, if you are a big Marvel fan, just stay offline for a couple of days. If you want to watch this review, fine. I'm keeping it spoiler free. But stay off Twitter, stay off the other YouTube videos that can pop online that just show clips of movies, because you want to really embrace this, because it has all the elements of a great story. Humor, heart, action, drama, horror, fear. I mean, there's so many elements in this film that he packed it in that I'm like, man, probably one of my favorite Marvel movies we have seen in the last couple of years. Yes, better than Shang-Chi for me, better than Doctor Strange, better than Eternals. This is a fantastic movie, and you guys are going to walk out applauding like the audience did when we watched it, and you're going to probably want to go back and see it again. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Thor, Love and Thunder. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. By the way, there's 2 post-credit scenes, so stay around for those. One pretty much right after the first roll of credits, and then at the very end. So stick around for those. They're both really good. With that, guys, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to the channel, like this video. We got a lot more great content coming your way here on Geek Culture. With that, take care, stay safe, and I will chat to you soon. Bye.